I am so excited to introduce the inaugural video for Unlocking the Keys to Healing. Our first guest has been nominated and won over 30 Emmy Awards. He was on ABC, CBS, and Fox as a news anchor for several years. Ernie Anostos has written children's books, owns radio stations and media, and I am so thrilled to have him as our first guest. Ernie has two shows, one on WABC and another one on 200 networks across America. Ernie, tell us about the two shows.
Well, first of all, I'm happy to be here, Susanna. You're a delight.
Happy to have you.
You know, we have met and talked before, and people should know that. You are exactly who you are. Your personality is warm, sincere, you're smart, and you're so engaging, and I love doing this with you, and it's an honor to be here with you.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
on this inaugural broadcast.
I know, I'm so excited.
Yeah, you should be. I'm very happy for you. Yeah, you know what? You mentioned the programs. Positively Ernie is something that I've used as a signature brand for years on other stations as well while I was doing the news, because I always liked the idea of presenting a balance of news, to have, you know, positive stories, uplifting stories in addition to the hard news of the day. So Positively Ernie is on WABC Radio in New York, and it's a daily feature. I do minute features on things that are really happening in our country and in our city. And then I also have a program called Positively America, which is a fabulous half-hour show. And I produced it, 26 programs all across the country, 200 stations, and on Pix 11 here in New York. And it's uplifting stories. You know, I look for solutions to problems. For how many years I've been going on the air and saying good evening, and then telling people why it's not. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make people feel better. So we look for solutions to problems. We look to give people an opportunity to understand that, you know, it's not all bad. We can reward good behavior, not just bad behavior.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's your favorite story that you've shown about positivity?
You know, so many stories that I think about, you know, the link. I'll tell you what I like to do. I present stories about parenting, because I think that's an interesting topic. How kids, for example, can learn to communicate better. I think we have so many devices that we're all working on, particularly young people, and they're not talking to each other. They're not going eyeball to eyeball. And I did a whole story on that about how we need to get people back, especially our young people, back to communicating with one another. I also do a series, remembering the people and the stories that are really important from my news journal. And I've got a ton of these stories. I talk about Buzz Aldrin, for example. I interviewed Buzz, spent some time with him, and he was just talking about how he walked on the moon. Can you imagine? Just imagine walking on the moon.
No, I'm not one of those people that wants to do that.
No, yeah, you know, it takes a lot to be able to do that. But, you know, he talked about how spiritual in many ways that walk was. He had communion on the moon. And he said that was just so moving. But he also talked about how he believes in the spirit that we have to be able to tolerate and to grow and to expand and to become everything that we can be. I find that very, very rewarding in many ways. So it's profiling individuals, it's talking about positive stories, all of that, and I enjoy doing it.
Let's go to the spirituality first. I think that positivity comes from being spiritual. I think that when you lose that, you lose hope.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that keeps me so positive, is that I'm definitely spiritual. I definitely believe in more than me.
Yeah.
And do you find that a lot in the people that you interview?
Yeah, I look for that. Many times when I am talking to people like yourself or other celebrities, you know, I look to see what makes them tick. And I'll always ask, you know, what is it that you feel is your purpose? Why do you do what you do? What drives you? What's the force behind it? And many times I'm very happy to hear them say, as I would say, that it is a spiritual feeling. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to, you know, belong to any faith, any religion, any particular church, synagogue, mosque, whatever it happens to be. It's not about that. It's about understanding that we have one creator who's love, and that we are connected.
Right.
And what we're supposed to do is respect and honor each other and do away with this hate and jealousy and anger and the rest of it. and look for ways to be able to make the world a better place with the gifts that we have been given. That's what we're supposed to do.
Have you dealt with people that have had near-death experiences?
Yes, I have. I have talked to a couple of people. Some of them are pretty well documented on YouTube and other areas, other platforms. But when I've read the books and talked to people, and I know you've had this experience.
I have.
I know you have. And it's marvelous to hear people say almost the same thing, that I remember the light. I remember the sense that there was somebody there who loved me beyond any words I could describe, and feeling that they were home, that
Yes.
they were back home.
More importantly, the unconditional love
Yes.
that basically being here is not what you think, and that you're here for reasons, you're here for missions.
It's a learning experience.
Kind of like Buzz Aldrin. But you're so incredibly loved, and it doesn't matter who you are.
But isn't that the power? I mean, that is everything that drives the world. If you really think
Yeah.
about love and how we apply it to our lives, relationships, family, children, even people that you don't know, but you admire them, and there's a certain love and admiration that you have for them. This to me is like the most powerful force in the world. If you want to help someone, and perhaps they're having a problem, it could even be your own child who may have a little difficult time, the first thing you say to them is, you know what, I love you. I want you to know that I love you, and I'm saying this because I care. And then you can say whatever you want after that to help them, but they know from the very beginning, from the get-go, that you're saying this from your heart because you care and you love. To me, that's everything. Everything.
There was a friend of mine who did some healing videos, and one of the people that he interviewed wrote a book called Hello from My Heart. So when you greet people, you say hello from my heart. It's amazing, like little things like that do wonderful things for you.
Well, they do, and I think that it's a reciprocal feeling. You can walk down the street and be somewhere where nobody knows you, right? And just smile. And if you smile at someone, 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10, they will smile back, because we all welcome that. We all need that. It's our human nature to want to be loved and cared for and to give it back.
I had this horrible breakup with a guy, like really horrible.
Yeah.
And I went up to Provincetown and did Bat Boy. And my friend was trying to get me out of being negative because I was just so sad.
Sure.
So every morning he would make me ride a bicycle down the street, all the way down. I'm trying to think of the main name.
Or whatever, yeah.
Main Street.
Yeah.
And we had to say hello and good morning to every single person we did. And oh my God, the amount of first shock, people were shocked at first, but the amount of love that came back was insane.
Oh, yeah.
And then one day we just wrote and we didn't say anything, and people thought something was terribly wrong. And they actually came, like the people that we didn't know we were affecting actually came to find us to find out if we were okay.
Isn't that interesting? You see the tone that you set by doing that. You know, what it comes down to, like the idea of walking down the street. They say that there are 2 kinds of people in this world. Someone who will walk into a room and say, here I am. And someone who walks into a room and says, there you are.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the difference. So if we look at other individuals, other people, and give them a smile, say hello, an act of kindness. Man, do we need kindness. I don't have to tell you. I've been reporting the news for 4 decades in New York. And I've seen the best and the worst of human behavior. And I feel that I'm a pretty good judge of what goes on. And I feel that now more than ever, our country is just so divided.
Very.
We have so many issues that are really haunting us. And we need to be able to say, stop. Let's look at where we are. Let's look at where we're going and how we can work together. I know that sounds like, wow, I mean, how are you going to do that? It can be done. You have to believe that we're going to find leadership, that will have these ideas and will be able to implement these ideas with cooperation. I don't know what's happened to the cooperative effort these days. I really don't.
I don't think we have it. I think that's part of the problem. I tend to think that right now we need to be like network, and I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore because it's not one side, it's both sides. Neither one is good at this point.
Well,
and it's scary.
You've got two powerful forces that can help. Media, what we're doing, getting messages across.
And positive messages.
Positive messages, having the media really decide that they're going to report what's going on. I would never censor the news. I would never.
Neither would I.
Defend the right of freedom of speech. But I think that we need to be able to stop and say, okay, we can do that, but we can do the other thing too.
Right.
We can present stories, we can present ideas, but we also have to have leaders. We have to have leaders who are going to believe this and say, I'm going to create a campaign, a program. What's wrong with having a program? Hands Across America. Have a day. Have many days where we all, symbolically reach out to other people and say, I'm touching your hand. We're connected. Let's do things together that are good for our country and good for ourselves.
Wait, I read something. So March 21st is Ernie Anostos Day?
Yeah. And that was a nice honor.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, there was a proclamation in New York. It was Mayor de Blasio at the time. And we were at a function, and he read the proclamation that it would be my day in New York. And I've done some very interesting things. Some people who I've worked with, charities, we've had good days with children at the Museum of the City of New York.
Oh, yeah.
We celebrated it. We had, storytelling, entertainment, and I gave a little bit of a speech. But I like that day, and I'm looking forward to doing something next year.
Well, I was thrilled to read that. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that was a nice honor.
I forgot I had to bring that up.
Thank you.
Right now, have you ever seen the Secret Santa that is done in, I think it's Nebraska or Ohio? And this radio station, every day, they partnered with this major millionaire, and every day they give money or roofing or surgery to people. This was the most positive show I think I've ever watched. It's on YouTube.
I want to check
and
it
it's
out.
the best show. I looked forward to the next day of what they were going to do for the person.
Yeah, well, I mean, people who, again, what we're talking about, who take the leadership role and say, I can do something. I can make a difference. I think that's very important, Susanna. If we understand that we have some power.
Yes.
And a lot of people feel powerless. Like, you know what, it's out of my hands. I don't have any control over what's going on. No, you do have control. You have to decide that you're going to take some action. They say that in the deepest parts of hell, you will find the silent people. People who should be speaking up. People who should be talking. And not allowing others to take over when they know that they have a voice as well. All it takes is one good person. All it takes is one person to stimulate and to create that kind of spirit, and it catches on real fast. Look what we're doing right here.
Well, you wrote children's books.
Yes.
And I actually wrote a children's book, actually 3. But this one is coming out hopefully at Easter.
Good.
But it's called A Child's Heart, and it's about children that have been abused and how to take that power back. Because we get encased in prisons which were not of our own choosing.
Yeah.
And the book talks about how the hearts meet, they're all hearts. The hearts meet new hearts, and they open up and share and spread the word. And that is the point of the book, is to connect and realize the national statistics, so they say, are 1 in 3 females and 1 in 4 males. I think it's higher, and I think it's higher in males.
Yeah.
Imagine those voices if they spoke out.
Absolutely.
I mean, that problem would come to an end.
Well, abusive behavior is a serious problem. And it falls in line with so many other things. Bullying, for example. I've done stories about that. It's the same idea. It's like really hurting people. And there is a way to fight back.
Yes.
There are many programs online. Schools and organizations have campaigns to help people who have been abused, people who have been bullied, and bring them back. And isn't it a wonderful thing when you see someone who has had a problem, a serious problem, and they have found themselves, they have regained their sense of dignity, and they have regained a sense of honor for themselves. And that can be done. That can be done. We just have to make sure that we point people in the right direction and say, here's where you go to get some help. We have to do that, and that's what we are. We're the conduit.
Well, we really need to be speaking out about this right now in immense ways, because where schools and groups and things had campaigns against bullying, now bullying is causing people to commit suicide.
Serious.
And the schools are like, oh yeah, okay. I mean, I'm reading this a lot these days, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. Well, when you hear that and when you see that, although, you can counter that with there are a lot of other programs, that are really working.
But they don't put those out, and
Well,
that's why this is sad.
We need to make sure that we have the voice to let people know that there are good things happening and to guide them, to help them. I remember, Walter Cronkite was a mentor for me. And he really helped me a lot in many ways. Very sincere, honest man. He was the most trusted man in America for so long. But I remember hearing a lot of different stories, and we talked about the role of someone, what we're doing right now, that as a reporter, as a host, we are watchdogs.
Yes, we should be.
We're not lapdogs, and we're not attack dogs. But we're watchdogs.
Sometimes.
Well, sometimes. But what we're supposed to be is the watchdog.
Right.
So we go out there, we bark, we tell people what's going on, this is what you should be doing. And this is our role as a conduit to get people the information. But the other thing is that, at one time, and this is like dating myself, but I think you can understand, at one time we only had like 3 major networks.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
And there was appointment viewing. We all watched at the same time, whether it was the Ed Sullivan Show or whether it was
Walt Disney World,
and watching news and so forth. But it was at the same time, so we had a sense of community.
Yes.
Because we would all get up the next day and say, "Hey, were you watching I Love Lucy last night? Wasn't that funny?"
The water cooler chats.
Yes, exactly. And people felt a sense of togetherness. We lost a lot of that because of how widespread the plethora of media platforms that are out there. On the one hand, I love it because it's great,
Right.
and I love the expansion, and I've been part of that. On the other hand, we've lost something, and we need to regain that by saying, okay, let's find a way that we can connect with one another. How do we connect with each other? I did a thing recently about what unites us
What does?
rather than divides us. Well, there are many things. A sense of community. If you belong someplace and you have a community project, you're trying to improve roads, you're trying to improve schools, you're building something in the community, that's important. On a personal level, family, having holidays, celebrating national holidays, 4th of July, Mother's Day, Father's Day, whatever it happens to be, concerts, people having a similar taste in music, anything that brings us together. And that's what we need to do. There's a lot of separation. We get stuck on our devices. Everybody's on a telephone. We're not talking to each other.
Yes, I want to get to that because
Yeah.
you talked about parenting.
Yes.
I think part of the problem with parenting right now is that most kids' parents are a phone or an iPad. And how, knowing that this is not going away,
Yeah.
how do we bring that sense of family to that?
I use the word awareness a lot. And that's part of what I do. Bring awareness to people to understand. And I will say this again. We need, in the media, to be able to do that. But we also need others who are leaders, if you will, to create campaigns and programs that let people know that we need to talk to each other. We need to communicate with one another. I'm high on campaigns. I really am. I think that
I agree.
Like for example, when Nancy Reagan had that campaign, Just Say No,
Oh, right.
that really had an impact.
And
on
we
drug-
still remember it.
Yes, and drug use had dropped. They had made it, but we need to have these campaigns.
We need them to continue. I used to equate problems with a movie of the week.
Oh yeah.
Because, right now we're going to deal with drugs. Right now we're going to deal with immigration. Right now we're going to deal with politics. Right now we're going to deal with parenting. And it's like the movie of the week, and it lasts
Right.
for a week,
Yes.
but it doesn't continue. And I think that we need to continue these programs.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the problem.
I've made several speeches at colleges and universities. They were kind enough to give me an honorary doctorate, and I would make a commencement speech. And I remember one thing that I'll share with you. And I remember talking to these young people, and I said, look, you're going out into the world, and you're just starting fresh. But I'll share a quick story with you. There was a young person talking to a mentor, and the mentor said, look, you're going out there, you have a lot of talent and a lot of desire to be happy and to succeed. But I'm going to give you a visual. There are fundamentally, for all of us, 5 balls that we juggle. We're all juggling these balls, 5 of them. And what are they? Work, family, friends, health, and reputation. These are the 5 balls. Now, the ball of work, which is very important. It's a rubber ball. It's going to bounce. You're going to have some successes, maybe some failures, learning experiences, but don't worry too much about it. Give it 300%. Do the best you can, but it's a rubber ball.
What happens if it's a Super Bowl and bounces out of court?
Oh, you can watch that one. But work is a rubber ball. Family, friends, health, reputation.
Wait, where does love go?
Well, that's all part of it. These balls are made of glass. So you have to be careful. You drop one of those balls, you can chip it, you can shatter it. Understand the value in your life, what really is important. And that's what I was passing along to a lot of these students. And I've gotten, messages back from them. Because work is important, but I've worked with so many people in this industry, particularly in broadcasting. They've been highly successful. And you know what they've said to me many times? It's a hollow victory. I have nothing left. Many times because of the success that they were trying to achieve, they lost their family. They lost their health, and they lost their reputation. And in the end, they were left with something that was just very empty. But the people who were paying attention to family, which is love, family, friends, health, and your reputation, they had a better life in many ways because they knew what was really important. When we're off the tube, when we're not doing this, when you're not a star, when you're not in the limelight, where are you? Who are you? That's what you have to think about. When it's at that point in your life, what are you going to say about who you are and what you're doing? Where are the values? And that's what's really important.
I think we so need to concentrate on that. I never thought of the other 4 as glass. And when you do, that's...
You realize how important they are.
Right.
But many times, we put them aside and we forget. And if we do destroy those things in our life, we destroy our lives. We really do.
There's a show called Harmony that's coming to Broadway.
Oh, sure, yeah. I did an interview with them recently.
Oh, they're amazing.
Yeah, with,
I love
Bruce Sussman.
I love this show.
Him, yeah.
But this show is about a group that was bigger than the Backstreet Boys, bigger than the Beatles.
Right, in the 20s in Germany.
And we hear about how people lost their lives in Nazi Germany. But if you ask me to lose your entire career to be the pinnacle of everything and have it wiped away,
No.
that blows my mind.
Yeah.
That actually hurts more than losing somebody, because with losing somebody, there's a closure.
Yeah.
But this...
Yeah.
I can't even...
Powerful story, and David Sussman did an amazing job, by the way.
You mean
It's
Bruce?
Incredible. Bruce, did I just lose my microphone?
Did you?
I'm going to pick it up right here. I like live television.
So do I.
Yeah, Bruce. Bruce was talking to me about the play Harmony, and how powerful it is.
It's highly
because
powerful.
They were singing on stage, performing on stage, doing a marvelous job. And he portrayed that in a positive way, but talked about the seriousness of anti-Semitism and the issues that were the rise of the Third Reich. But I also told him a fun story.
What?
Because he collaborated with Barry Manilow.
Right.
And they wrote the music together. And I said, Bruce, I was working at CBS News when I was just out of college as a young desk assistant. And I was running around the newsroom having a good time with my friends. And there was a guy in the mailroom who would come up and deliver the mail. And every once in a while, he'd be humming a tune. And I said, you know what? You've got to pursue that career, because we were all young thinking about what we wanted to be. Turned out to be Barry Manilow. He worked in the mailroom.
Does he remember you from this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, because, Barry was in that mailroom with a lot of other people, And we were all thinking about our career. We were all thinking about what do we want to do. You know, I wanted to be an anchor. He wanted to be a performer. And he made his dream come true because he believed in himself. And I think that's so important. If you believe in who you are, and if you honor and you respect yourself, hey, come on, we've all made mistakes in life. But if we start thinking about those things and put ourselves down, St. Paul once said, every time you fall, get up. And what's the message? If you lie down and stay there when you fall,
They've won.
Absolutely. So who's going to win here? You got to get up every time.
That is my philosophy
Yeah,
of life.
yeah.
You know, yes, people can take you down, and God knows I've been taken down a ton of times. But they win if you stay down.
Sure.
And I'm sorry, they're not winning.
That's right. And it's up to you to make that decision. But this is great. I love talking to you about this.
Thank you.
We
I
talk
do
about so many
too.
different subjects.
I know.
I don't know how much time we have. We could go on forever.
We could go on
I know we
for-
could.